Ladies and gentlemen, the following podcast is set for one episode. Your host from Columbus, Ohio, is Michael Kirk. Welcome to the Outlaw Mudcast. Hello and welcome to the Outlaw Mudcast, your digital audio dirt sheet for all things Super Show. On today's show, we are going to cover the news coming out of PAX Unplugged, as well as some of the upcoming tournaments for the Super Show. We will start with the PAX Unplugged. Between the last time we talked, there were a few changes made. There ended up being no new guy event on Friday. Instead, Friday night was the SRG Awards. There was also a tournament that went on during the SRG Awards. I believe that Brian Wakeford Schmidt ended up winning that tournament. But here are the award winners. I'm going to give you the award winners, give you my thoughts on who won. Here and there, I may not give you thoughts on all of them because some of them obviously were people I picked to win. We'll start with the order they went, announce them. Face of the Year. Face of the Year, to me there's no surprise here, James DeMello. Heel of the Year was Eddie Fury. Catchphrase of the Year, Listen Up Jack. That was a surprise. I was thinking it was going to be Chugga Chugga or Hey Man, but Listen Up Jack made it. Best new signing, Prince of Fashion. Best out of ring moment was James Ramsey presenting the CJ Spar card to Steve Rask at the Grand Gathering. Wasn't my pick, but it's a great moment. The Swing and a Miss Award. This is the name they changed. This was the Botch of the Year award. They decided to call it the Swing and a Miss Award. The Grand Gathering Elevators won. Again, I'm not surprised for those of you who were there at the Grand Gathering. The elevators were awful. So they deserved their win. Work of the Year. Mike Riot. Again, this is one of the two I had picked. I ended up going with Steven Sage showing up at Flat Saturday 2. But it was great seeing the Man from Tomorrow and getting to meet him in person for the first time. So that was the Work of the Year. Best online show. Now I've got to talk a little bit about this. First off, Power Hour won. That was my favorite choice of the nominees. Congratulations to the Power Hour. I enjoy the Power Hour a lot. They said a couple things during the broadcast, during the award show, that I wanted to sort of address here. They brought up South Bell Productions and basically said South Bell Productions is the reason for sort of the success of online shows. And I tend to disagree with that. I think the Outlaw Mudcast, we're the 10. We proved you could have a weekly show dedicated to covering SRG Universe. We've been going now, we're at over 60 episodes. We've been going over a year, delivering a show every week. To me, it starts here, which is kind of why I was disappointed with the lack of a nomination. I feel like and I don't like talking about myself and promoting myself, but I feel like this show started off, we proved there's an audience of people that will tune in every week. And thank you to everyone who does listen. I really appreciate those of you who download, who listen to the show while they're at work. I love when everyone tells me you help me get through my day. You help me when I'm traveling on the road. Give me something to listen to. So thank you to everyone for listening. But I do feel like we are the ones that showed that a show about SRG Universe every week was viable. And I just had to get that off my chest. And we've been doing this since 2018. I know that during the speech, the general manager, John Clay, said in 2018, there couldn't be an award. I respectfully disagree. 2018, we were already over a month in, doing our thing. We're going to keep doing our thing. We're going to keep going forward. I hope Outlaw Mudcast in 2020 will continue to grow and get better. And we'll have a great 2020 like we had a great 2019 like we had a great 28. But that's all I had to say about that. Just want to let people know we're here. We've been here all along. We're going to continue to be here. Next, best SRG cameo. Michael Dean's appearing on camera with Braun Strowman during a WWE match as one of the members of the audience. Was my pick. I picked Gordita Furia in the front row at the Royal Rumble, but I'm a fan of Michael Dean's. It's a great choice. Event of the year. They picked FreeCon. I'm surprised they picked FreeCon. To me, Grand Gathering, in terms of just importance to the game overall, outshines that completely. Even as great as FreeCon 1, even as great as all of these events were, to me, it's Grand. So many of the matches of the year, moments of the year, happened at the Grand Gathering. I mean, I just talked earlier about the presentation of CJ Sparra. There's going to be some matches mentioned, some teams mentioned for other awards that took place at the Grand Gathering. To me, it's the Grand Gathering. But congratulations to FreeCon. Congratulations to DeMello, Brian Schmidt, everyone up there at RCW. Rising Star. Google Docs Dan won Rising Star. Not my pick, but congratulations to Google Docs Dan. Best new promotion, RCW. Hands down. To me, it's the clear one-away choice. Congratulations to them. Best musical performance, Bobby Ohio won. I am ecstatic that my fellow member in BCW, Bobby Ohio, won. I for sure thought it was going to be Booker's Grand Gathering rap, but Bobby Ohio's Slammin' Yo song winning, total surprise, but it's great. Best new artist was Kieran Squire. Kieran Squires does the comic book. If you got your hands on the first version of Rolling Forum to come out, this was the promo card that came in the GTS box set of El Super Hombre and Snake Pit. I can see why he won. Congratulations to him. Best recorded promo, the bathtub Booker, James Booker's bathtub promo. Makes 100% sense. Best mic skills, which they renamed as the Greatness Award, went to Dick Thunderlips. Solid choice. I think that's spot on. Shock of the year was Sammy Callahan at the Grand Gathering, throwing a promo pack at Clace and almost taking his eye out. That, I will say, was a shock. I didn't expect. Well, let me take it back. I did say last week he hit a lot of people. This was probably the most serious, the most threatening injury. We thought John Clace was going to have to go to the emergency room. So, and I do believe he ended up with a black eye afterwards. So that was that. I can see that why that won. Congrats to him. Breakout star, the Grump, which makes sense. The Grump's the LFF tag champ. He won tag team gold, and I believe he won Trios tournament at Origin. So congratulations to the Grump. Rookie of the year, Robert the Brain Dunn, no question. I believe it probably was. I'm pretty sure it was my pick last week, and nothing changed. Nothing's happened to change my mind since then. The Loudmouth Award, Evil Ed the Cheesehead from RCW. I don't know a lot about Evil Ed, but congratulations to him. I will try to watch more of the compound, see if I can get to know those guys up in RCW a little better. But congrats to him for that award. Jobber of the Year, Andrew Trebbing. He was one of my two finalist picks. I was down to either him or Chris Pagillo. I went with Pagillo, but Andrew Trebbing took the day. So congrats to Andrew Trebbing for being Jobber of the Year. Road Warrior of the Year. Again, it's almost too much of a pun to say it's a no-brainer, but it was Robert the Brain Dunn. Card of the Year. This surprised me a lot. I picked Director of Operations, and I gave reasons why. I don't think there's any entrance card that has changed the game like Director of Operations. But True Survivor won. True Survivor is the entrance card where at crowd meter 2 or greater, you can basically use this to add +2 to, I believe it's your first breakout roll. It's a good card, but to me, congratulations to them. I still think Director of Operations is a better choice. SRG Youth Award. There's only one junior heavyweight champion, and she's also the Youth Award winner. Jay Flash, congratulations. Champion of the Year, Marcel. The final 24/7 Origins champion is a champion of the year. Congratulations to Marcel. Competitor of the Year, Highwater. Yeah, I mean, Loudmouth Leo Lennox has won too much stuff with Highwater since Origins to not be the competitor of the year. Feud of the Year, Matt Nealon versus Funtime Bob. Congratulations to them. Great choice. Deck of the Year, John Polverino's Belinda deck. It's hard to argue with a deck that allows you to go back-to-back Gen Con World Heavyweight Championship Tournament winner. So, congrats to John Polverino for building that deck. Match of the Year, another grand gathering moment. The Fatal 4-Way Underworld Championship match. The Italian Armada, Chris Pagillo, goes into the match as the Underworld Champion. He has to face Jacob Maynard, King Greatness, and utilizing the last rematch clause as of now and at the LFF, Shane Strickland has to face these four and manages to escape to win, emerge victorious, still Underworld Champion. Faction of the Year, Inner Circle. Again, they've just won too much. They're prominent and they're victorious. They're the Faction of the Year. Promotion of the Year, Rust Belt Wrestling of America. I was thinking this was also going to be RCW, but Rust Belt Wrestling has a great case. They've put on a lot of great events up there. They featured some of the great feuds. Again, we just mentioned Matt Nealon and Funtime Bob. There's also, of course, the Dave Marisak versus Steel Wool. So, deserved win. Congratulations to them for Promotion of the Year. Tag Team of the Year, Big Money. They are the first LFF Tag Team Champions. So, congratulations to them. There were 4 gentlemen named for the Steve Resk Award. Those are Robert the Brain Dunn, Jacob Denmar, James DeMello, and Chris Pagillo. Congratulations to all 4 of those men. And finally, Player of the Year was Loudmouth Leo Larynx, again, for the reasons I laid out last week. He's won too much. Not only has he won too much, I think there's other things he's done that don't even get mentioned. I mean, of course, he's one half of the current LFF Tag Team Champions. Of course, he won the Origins World Heavyweight Championship Tournament, won the Origins Tag Team Championship Tournament. Of course, he also won the PAX South Heavyweight Championship Tournament. He also was the finalist at PAX Unplugged last year. He came very close to being the first ever PAX Unplugged champion. I don't know if people talk about that, but he doesn't get much credit for that. He's also the gentleman who was almost the first LFF World Heavyweight Championship. He's the one that Sammy beat in the finals to actually become the first ever LFF World Heavyweight Champion. So we almost lived in a world where Loudmouth Leo was the World Heavyweight Champion. But congratulations to him. Congratulations to all of the winners. Congratulations to all of the nominees. All of us have had a great year in 2019. I'm looking forward to a great 2020. 2020 Vision's going to be dropping soon. I'm anxious to see what that's about. But that was Friday at the PAX Unplugged 2020 show. Saturday. A couple things happened on Saturday. First, we'll go through the one that was announced. The PAX Unplugged World Heavyweight Championship. This tournament, I believe, had 30-plus players. Went down to the Grump taking on, I believe his name is Mike D. He is a member of the Crime Wave. If I remember correctly, he was using Liger, and the Grump was using Shade as their competitors. Mike D ends up coming away victorious. He is your 2019 PAX Unplugged World Heavyweight Championship Tournament winner. Saturday also featured a hardcore tournament, 6 players. This was a tournament proposed by Robert the Brain Dunn during the award show last Friday night. It featured the Player of the Year, Breakout Star of the Year, many other luminaries, where the winner of the hardcore tournament would be in contention for the LFF World Heavyweight Championship. The 6 players in the tournament were the Player of the Year, Loudmouth Leo Larynx, the Rookie of the Year, Robert the Brain Dunn, Breakout Star of the Year, the Grump Danny Thunder, Rising Star of the Year, Google Docs Dan Page, the creator of the Hardcore Championship, the Mad Custodian Jacob Denmark, and as a result of a payoff pack tournament earlier in the day, South Bell. And once again, in a 6-man tournament, echoing her birdcage victory at Origins earlier in the year, South Bell is the victor of the hardcore tournament. She is in contention for the LFF World Heavyweight Championship. Congratulations to her. Sunday, we had the LFF PAX Unplugged Tag Team Tournament. 2 teams make it to the finals. Andrew Trebbing and his son Vinny Trebbing, the former Underworld champion, make it to the finals. They take on the 2019 Dragon Con Tag Team Champions, the team known as Kabuki Kablau, the general manager John Clace, and Alan Hawkins, the man behind the Reverend Robert Torn, face off in the finals. Great match. At one point, I thought the Trebbings were going to come from behind, but Kabuki Kablau wins, continuing not just to be a successful tag team, but continuing the inner circle dominance at big conventions. So, congratulations to them. That is the PAX Unplugged news as far as the events. Now, I'm going to go ahead and go over some of the new product that's come out. I'm going to go over 2 of the 3 competitor sets that were released on the website. The new 4-leaf Flynn and the new Matt Nealon competitor set. We've already gone over Kaylee Sweet Pea Perry on the show, so we're not going to do that. The frequent flyer, I'm actually going to wait on the frequent flyer until next week. I'm just going to put that off just to give us something to look at. I think I'm going to go ahead and put off Overdog as well. And I do not have a copy of the newly released Matt Travis set. Of course, paying tribute to the late wrestler that was part of the House of Glory promotion, well known for wrestling out of House of Glory, that was released with permission of his family by SRG at PAX Unplugged. It is currently not available on the website. I do not know if it's going to be available at the CCW's tournament next week, which we'll talk about later on in the show. If it is, I will try to get my hands on it, and then we'll review that after that tournament. But we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about some of the new releases and just cards that are coming out at PAX Unplugged. So let's start with 4-leaf Flint. Here are the skills for 4-leaf Flint. Power 8, Technique 9, Agility 5, Strike 6, Submission 7, and Grapple 10. The gimmick is, when you roll Agility for your turn roll, flip 2 cards or add 1 card from your discard pile to your hand. So this is a gimmick that's going to trigger off your worst roll, off your 5 skill. So it will allow you to flip 2 cards, or you can pick a card up from your discard pile out of your hand. I like the gimmick. I think it's strong. I think it's a solid gimmick. It's going to be similar to the King Greatness gimmick, and that allows you to add a card from discard pile, or if you don't have enough of a discard pile, you can flip 2. So kind of also in the same vein as somebody like Gold Standard or Salty Sailor, except the nose you're rolling your top skill, this you're rolling your bottom. 3 finishers with this. The strike finish, number 28, Kiss the Blarney. +2 to agility, +2 to strike. If you have 0 cards in your deck, this card is also a follow-up. So to me, this is going to be a strong card late game. +2 to agility, +2 to strike. Of course, it's going to bump up your 2 lowest stats, make your 5 a 7, and your 6 and 8. With the 0 card, with this being a follow-up when you have 0 cards in your deck, you may think about wanting to run a lot of flip cards with this to feed into your gimmick to help get your deck down to 0, so you can just start spamming this as a follow-up. I can also see you playing playing cards like Rolling Forearm, Call to the Crowd, Strength in Numbers to be able to let you go lead, follow-up, finish with this card. Strong card like this. This is a card that also you may see a lot of play in tag with the new hot tag or snap tag cards. Especially late game, your opponent can play this card and then you can throw this finish because it is a follow-up. The card does not say non-finish follow-ups. So a lot of nice possibilities with the finish that's also a follow-up. The finish grapple, number 29 is Finnegan's Wake. Your opponent's first breakout roll is -1 for each lead you have in play. Your opponent's second breakout roll is -1 for each follow-up you have in play. What this is going to be good is it's going to, assuming you have lead follow-up in play already, it's going to basically take -1 off your opponent's first couple breakout rolls, which is pretty good. You may also then want to tech this. You might want to think about putting in some spotlight cards to be able to get back a follow-up or get back a lead to have additional leads to play to help beef this up. And then the final card, the finish submission, is the Lucky Clover. +1 to power, +2 to submission. This bumps your power to 9 or submission to 9, so it gives you 10, 3 9s, a 5, and a 6. If stopped, put 3 cards from your discard pile on top of your deck. If you had 0 cards in your deck, put up to 6 instead. This could let you. I think this could actually tie in very nicely with the Kiss the Blarney as a combo. Especially because when it says when you have 0 cards, it says put up to 6. You can always elect to put 0. Now, obviously, if you have cards in your deck, you have to put 3 on top. But this is a very nice recursion card that I wouldn't mind throwing just to be able to get cards back, even if I know my opponent can stop it. But yeah, I like 4-Leaf Flynn. I believe 4-Leaf Flynn had some success in for the Hardcore Championship. That was challenged for, defended, and even changed hands quite a few times. I did not during the PAX Unplugged weekend, which, by the way, it is now retired. Loudmouth Leo Larynx with High Water was the last holder of the SRG Hardcore Championship. And I believe it's starting at Grand Gathering. The Hardcore Championship will be reseeded into the community. The run will start again. But between now and then, it's just going to be dormant. But that's 4-Leaf Flynn. Now let's on to let's take a look at the new competitor set from Matt Nealon. So, Matt Nealon. And before I give you the skills, there is a bit of a problem with the skills. The skills on this particular print run are not correct. You probably would notice them, except there's a tie-in with the submission. So expect there to be a reissue of this card at some point, but I'm just going to give you the card as it currently exists. Matt Nealon, Power 9, Technique 5, Agility 6, Strike 8, Submission 7, Grapple 10. When your opponent increases their turn roll or decreases your turn roll, they randomly bury 1 card in their hand. So I've talked a lot about certain cards like Taunt from the Top Rope being sort of the anti-Booker Mania cards because Booker Mania triggers off the card that boosts your turn roll. This is almost an anti-Booker Mania card because this is going to essentially hurt you when you do either one. Either when you increase your turn roll or decrease your opponent's turn roll. So this, depending on how much play this ends up seeing in the community, you could see players sort of cut down on the amount of turn roll bonus cards they use. Maybe go more of a draw heavy or more recursion. I'm yet to see. We'll see how this actually plays out, but the gimmick is very interesting. I wonder what the effect on the community could be. All right, let's start with the strike finish. Strike finish number 29, the original top rope flying headband drop. This uses the same art as the current top rope flying headband drop card, the skill card that requires you to have an 8+ power. And I believe the text is the same, +2 to technique, +1 to strike, which on the current version of Matt Newland would bump your technique to a 7 and your strike to a 9. When you have 10 or more cards in your hand, this card cannot be stopped, just like the current generic version of this. The number 29 finish grapple is the F-bomb. It is a spotlight finish, +1 to power, +2 to technique, which bumps your power to a 10 and your technique to a 7 on this current version. When this card is in your discard pile, your maximum hand size is plus the crowd meter. So your hand size will, every time the crowd meter goes up, your hand size will go up, which of course is going to help feed into the top rope flying headband drop, because when your hand size is over 10, that card can't be stopped. So obviously there's no bonus of crowd meter 0, but it's going to go up every time you every time you bump the crowd meter. And I wouldn't be surprised if this card also is meant to play with Director of Operations as the entrance card to help give you pluses to your help basically bump your maximum hand size from a normal 10 to 12. And then finally, the finish submission is You Know What I Do, +1 to technique, +1 to strike, +2 to submission, -1 to grapple. So under the way the stats currently are, it's going to make the power 9, technique 6, agility 6, strike 9, submission 9, grapple 9. So it's going to give you 4 9s and 2 6s. Now, if you know Matt Nealon, you may see what the issue with the stat line is. I'm not going to let you draw your own conclusions. I'm not going to talk about what he was going for. But this is the first card that ties into the Double the Fun tag team card. So let me grab that tag team card, and we'll go through how these finishes, which you can play with that tag team card, will tie into that card. And let me just refresh your memory. I'm not going to assume anyone has this card with them. Double the Fun, power 18, technique 14, agility 12, strike 10, submission 20, grapple 16. Double the numbers in the text of your submission cards. When you hit a card with head or back in the name, your next turn roll is +1. So starting with the strike, of course it has head in the name, headband. So if you hit this finish strike, it will give you +1 to your next turn roll. The technique is a +2 bonus, so we'll bump your technique up to a 16, and it will bump your strike up to an 11. So if you are playing the original top rope flying headband drop with this card, it's going to give you an additional 16, and it will make it so your opponent cannot automatically kick out by rolling their lowest skill. Because if they roll their 10, since your 10 is now an 11, they must roll higher than their lowest skill to kick out. So there's that. F-bomb is +1 to power, +2 to technique. So it's going to bump your 18 up to a 19, and it's going to bump your 14 up to a 16. To me, there's still no reason why you wouldn't run double death drop here. To be able to go to get +6 to your 2 low. Yeah, it's +6 to your 2 low skills, I believe. Make it go so it's 14, 16, 16, 18, 18, 20. To me, that's still the better choice there. And then submission card. Of course, Double the Fun comes with its own submission card, Double Team Supreme, that says +1 to grapple technique for each card you have in play. For each card you have with head or back in the name. Now, of course, because of the gimmick, you're going to double the numbers of text, so it's actually +2 to grapple technique. So if you have one card with those words in the name, it's going to bump your grapple to an 18. It's going to bump your technique to a 16. If you have none, it's not going to do anything. If you have more, it's more. So it just helps make your 14 and 16 get better. Now, if you decide to use the You Know What I Do finish submission, it's going to go +2 to your technique, so it's going to make your technique a 16. It's going to be +2 to your strike, so make your strike a 12. +2 to submission, so it's actually make your submission 24 off the bat. And then it'll be -1 to grapple, but with the doubling, it's again -2, so it's going to be 14. So it's going to make your strike go up to a 12, your technique go up to a 16, your grapple go down to a 14, and your submission will be a 24. So it does give you an auto win under the current rules at Crowd Meter 0, because if you play this and you roll your submission, you will win. They cannot kick out of a 24 unless they have a lot of skill bonus cards on one skill. But that is the Matt Nealon card and finishers. A couple other new releases I want to talk about. Last year, we had the tables, ladders, and steel chain cards. And they ran through pretty much a whole set from 1 to 30 of cards with those names. They have announced this year and released as part of the PAX Unplugged release the first 3 cards in a new series that at the strike will be cards with kendo stick in the name. At the grapple will be cards with steel chair in the name. And its submission will be cards with steps or ring steps in the name. So here are the 3 cards that they released this week. They're cards numbers 1 through 3. The lead strike number 1, simply called kendo stick. If you roll technique for your finish roll, your roll is +1. The steel chair card, the lead grapple number 2, if you roll agility for your finish roll, it is +1. And the ring steps card, lead submission number 3, if you roll power for your finish roll, your roll is +1. Now, the first thing that sticks out to me is I'm a fan of playing the Cajun Verna tag team card that gives bonuses to cards that have superpower or steel in the name. We're going to get a whole set. We've had a whole set, of new submissions of cards with steel chain. Now we're going to get steel chair. That's just going to be even better for that. So I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out with these new kendo stick, steel chair, and ring steps cards. Let me go through a couple of the other promos that I know that got released. At the award show, they gave out a promo. It is a lead submission, number 9, facelift. Your opponent's next turn roll is -1, or if you have fewer cards in your hand than your opponent, they discard 1 random card from their hand. These cards, I'm not sure if I would have played them before, but you could think about using something like this, because not only is this sort of anti-Booker Mania, but it gives you an option to help avoid the Matt Nealon. Because you could choose, well, if I have less cards than him, I can make him discard instead. So that's an interesting idea. But it's another option for Prince of Fashion as well, although there is currently I believe it's Face Stretch at number 9, which is a very good card. It's the card that allows you to either draw 1 card or shuffle 4 of that from your discard pile back in your deck. We also had as a promo card released the Boss Armbreaker. Is a file submission number 21. Draw 1 card. If you have fewer cards in your hand than your opponent, this card is also a lead. I like this. I think these cards that are combo lead follow-ups are very interesting. So I like that quite a bit. Obviously, you'd have to give up leg lock to use it. So if you wanted to give up a strike stop in that spot, you're being a little more aggro, I'd think about doing it if I had depth for sure, had the skill stop at 15. But it's an interesting card. And that's going to do it for the promos that we're going to cover this week. Like I said, I think we're going to cover the new Overdog, which doesn't have any new finishes. It's just the competitor card, but it does have a new skill. Sorry, it does have a new gimmick. I'm not sure if it has new skills or not. Sweet and Salty Impact Drop, which I believe we covered at the same time we covered Kaylee Perry's card, also released. The Hot Tag and Snap Tag came out. They're both follow-ups. One's the Strike at 16, that's the Hot Tag. The other is the Grapple at 17, that's the Snap Tag. Both have the same text. If you have another follow-up in play, your tag team partner may play a lead or follow-up this turn. I didn't get into this because I understand why they did it, but it's a little bit of a bait and switch that essentially this card, with the Hot Tag for sure, this card won the Create a Card competition, and then once they decided to make it, they actually changed the text of the card, which I understand why they did that, but the question will always be there. If this card had the text on it during the contest that it has on it currently, would it have won the contest? I don't like that it got put in this position. I think that's kind of an unfair question because you can't change the past. But I think that's something that if I'd have been behind the contest, I would have addressed that during the contest, especially after it made the top 4, instead of essentially letting it win and then changing it after the fact to something that's more palatable. Because it's not like we picked this card based on the artwork. We picked it primarily based on what it did. And let me go over one last new release. It's currently on sale on the website. Don't know how long that'll be. Normally it's retail for 10, but it's down to 6. Grab the Tights. It's a follow-up Strike, number 13. Stop Schoolboy or Backslide. Shuffle one card from your discard pile into your deck. If played as a stop, this card is also a finish. So it's essentially the Strike version of the Inside Cradle. Obviously, I can see this card getting play, especially if your agility or strike skill is not strong enough to warrant you running a kick in the corner or running Lariat stop card. It's good. I would pack it in those cases, or at least I think about it. I mean, there are other good options with 13 cards like the, I'm going to say Double Arm Lock. Obviously, that's a submission, but there's a version of that submission. You flip 2, add 1, put 1 from your discard top of your deck. Also, Take Over the Ladder is usually a good card at 13. But I believe that's going to be all that I'm going to go over about the newly released cards this week. I will cover Frequent Flyer next week. I will cover Overdog next week, and if I'm able, I'll cover the Matt Travis card. But that's going to do it for cards. A couple other things I want to bring up before the show ends. First, I brought up the Gia de los Muertos before. I do not have a current count as of the last time I spoke to you. I believe it is still over 950. Please report your wins. Go to Gia de los Muertos-LFF on Facebook and make a post detailing your wins. The sooner we can get Gia to 990, the sooner that Mike Riot, Ian Kenderdon, the man from tomorrow, can get the last 10 wins, and we can break the curse on Gia de los Muertos. Also, next weekend we have a couple events. The first one I haven't covered yet, but it's taking place Sunday, December 15th in Texas. I wanted to go ahead and cover this because I didn't really cover the last big Texas event, but December 15th, Sunday, at Multiverse Games, San Antonio, in San Antonio, Texas, starting at 2 p.m., they are hosting a tables, ladders, and chains event. $5 entry fee. The tournament winner will get a shot at the Alamo City Championship. So I'm wondering if this is going to be a hardcore style tournament or if it's all going to be TLC matches. I'm not sure. or maybe you'll get some tables matches, some ladder matches, some steel chain matches, a variety. But it's scheduled to run 3 hours from 2 to 5, Sunday at Multiverse Games in San Antonio. Tables, ladders, and chains tournament. But of course, the bigger tournament, December 14th, Saturday, 1 p.m. at Titan Game Shop in Hopewell, Pennsylvania. The Create a Competitor competition that City of Champions Wrestling is hosting will take place. It's called the CCW Year-End Extravaganza Create a Competitor event. Like I said, it's a 1 p.m. start time from what I've seen. It's going to be $15 if you pre-register. There's a link in the SRG Super Show discussion group to pre-register, or $20 day of the event. They will actually provide a deck and other things if you're a new player and you don't have those. So that's a great thing. It's going to be a Swiss round event with the number of rounds determined by the number of players. There's also going to be a birdcage match for the championship, which from what I've heard, I believe I've heard them say Michael Kirk's in that, so I'll be ready for that too. Looking forward to it. Don't know how I made it, but I'll do my best. But that's going to be next weekend, December 14th. I'd say next to FreeCon and the original plat said it's probably the lowest entry fee I've seen for a Create a Competitor tournament. I believe they're also they've also purchased some additional prizing for the tournament beyond just the promos. So there'll be plenty of prizing to be given out. I'm gonna go. I encourage anyone else who's able to do so to go play. I've of course met Stephen Hines, the big guy Gary Schneider, a few times. I'm looking forward to seeing them again. I'm sure you'll get plenty of Rust Belt competitors, plenty of other BCW guys coming out. Might even see some people from the East Coast. I've heard a rumor that at least one person from SRG Universe will be there. But I could see some people maybe traveling from one side of Pennsylvania, or some Philadelphia players, or some maybe New York players coming out. It'd be great if they could. I don't know. It's a drive, so I'm not expecting the moon, but it'd be great to be able to see those guys again, especially because I couldn't make them Unplugged. But that is the last big tournament that I'm aware of for the year. I have not heard of anything else being planned soon, so that could be it from SRG Universe for quite a while. I do know that the Brain has announced that House Rules Games in Kissimmee, Florida will be holding their own CAC tournament. That will be, I believe it is the weekend after Valentine's Day, so I want to say it's the 21st or 22nd. And before I give the rundown, let me report on this too. I mentioned this a bit, even briefly posted about it. But for those of us in BCW that could not make it to PAX Unplugged, we went to a joint wrestling show between Impact Wrestling and the Wrestling Revolver. Now, the Wrestling Revolver is a promotion that Sami Callihan, current LFF competitor and former LFF World Heavyweight Champion, I believe has a business interest in. SRG Universe is a sponsor of the Wrestling Revolver. So, as sponsors, we went ahead and set up demo tables. And we were running demos of the Super Show both before and after the wrestling tournament. So we did get to demo the game for some of the people attending the event. We did get to demo the game for some of the wrestlers at the event. Now, I was not part of the group that was running demos, but I did speak to them, and they let me know all of this. I even got to witness Madman Fulton come over, sit down, and start teaching the game to somebody. So not only is there interest from some of the people attending, there's interest from the wrestlers themselves. Not just that, apparently after I left, and I stayed fairly late just to hang out and see if they need any help, but that's when I saw Madman come over and run the demo. Apparently Madman not only explained his finishers because he wants to be in the game, but essentially started using his finishing moves on the current Impact X Division champion Ace Austin so that we could have pictures and video of what they're supposed to look like. So that to me was great. I've heard that some of the other Impact talent was interested and requested demos, so we could see quite a few players come out of that. Who knows? Nothing's written in stone, but it would be kind of neat to see some of that talent come into the game. But that is going to do it for our show this week. If you have any questions, if you'd like to leave any comments or feedback, you're welcome to reach out to me personally through Facebook Messenger. You're also able to email the show. We're outlawmudcast@gmail.com. Or you can just send me a direct message on Twitter. We're at Outlaw Mudcast on Twitter. I'm about to read off the list of current play groups that I'm aware of. You can also use the same methods of contacting me to let me know if you want your play group added to the list. This is, and I understand, this is more of a service for newer players than veteran players. But we did just come out of a major convention. And let me know if you think I should dial down and maybe just only give this list out when we have new players coming into the game after like a major convention or expo or something of that nature. I'd be willing to open to the feedback, but for right now I'm going to go ahead and give the list because I'm assuming we may probably gain a few East Coast players, hopefully, and then that'll be it. So here is the list. We will start, as always, with my own local promotion, Buckeye Championship Wrestling. We wrestle at the Guard Tower in Columbus, Ohio, Saturdays at 6 p.m. I don't expect to have much of a turnout this weekend coming up because of the tournament I've discussed earlier that CCW is putting on the 14th. But we're normally playing Saturdays at 6 p.m. To our north, Rust Belt Wrestling of America has games Monday nights, 6 p.m. at Recess Games in North Homestead. LFF Tri-State, they play out of a store of Fire and Dice in Lynbrook, New York, Thursday nights at 7. City of Champions Wrestling plays at Titan Game Shop in Hopewell, Pennsylvania. Of course, this weekend they're holding their big year-end extravaganza on the 14th. I believe it is 1 p.m. on Saturday. True American Heroes, I haven't heard much out of them, but they were playing frontline games in Clarksville, Tennessee, Saturdays at 6. Florida Cardboard Wrestling, which, like I said, will be having their own CAC in late February. They play at House Rules Gaming in Kissimmee, Florida, Sundays at 6:30 p.m. New Order Wrestling plays at Pandemonium Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. in Westland, Michigan. Westland, Michigan also is the home of a group that plays out of Destiny Games Wednesdays at 6:30. And rounding out Michigan, the Skull Group plays out of Kalamazoo, Michigan at Fanfare Games, second and fourth Sunday of every month from 12 to 2 p.m. Out west, Sin City Wrestling plays at Atomic Trading in Las Vegas, Nevada, Wednesday at 6 p.m. I know that Eddie Fury was part of a team that was out at Chara Expo, I believe is how it was. What it was. That is a big anime expo that features some New Japan Pro Wrestling presence. I know that Pat the Thinker, Pat Mulligan, Leo the Law, the man behind the Numero Uno, and Eddie Fury were out there running demos, introducing the players of the game, so that could help grow the California presence. We don't really have a California home base out there, but it'd be nice if we got one out of this. I didn't see much from them other than a post that Leo the Law put up Saturday before the convention opened. So hopefully we'll see some more out of them in the coming days. Wizards Card Championship Wrestling plays at Wizards Asylum Comics and Games in Norman, Oklahoma. They usually play, I'd say, once a month or so. Usually a weekend day around noon. I check in on the Facebook group to be sure. Revolutionary Championship Wrestling, a few different locations for them. They play at New England Comics in New Bedford, Massachusetts, Wednesdays from 3 to 6 and Saturdays from 11 to 4. They play at Tabletop Games in Westport, Massachusetts, Tuesdays from 3:30 to 6. And they play at Game King in Fall River, Massachusetts, Sundays from 5 to 9. Island Rife Wrestling plays out of East End Gaming in Oakdale, New York. They play Wednesdays and Fridays. Outpost Wrestling plays at Outpost Games in Glendale, Arizona, Saturdays from 11 to 2. Maple People Wrestling plays at Highlander Games in Boonton, New Jersey. There are 2 AU Ultra Universes locations in Pennsylvania that host games. There's an AU Bluebell store in East Norriton, Pennsylvania, and an AU Home store in Holmes, Pennsylvania. The home store hosts games Sundays at noon. And finally, Asylum Championship Card Wrestling is the Georgia group. They play at Heroic Gaming every Monday from 7 to 10 p.m. in Roswell, Georgia. And the last Saturday of every month, they play at Gigabytes Cafe in Marietta, Georgia, starting at noon. And that will do it for our show, folks. Thank you to all of you for listening, and good day.